Good morning, everyone. Thank everyone for coming out this morning. My name is Ken Brown Lane, affectionately known to everyone as Termite. I am a 53-year resident of the Cherry Hill community, where I raised my 3 kids. I'm a former Safe Street worker. Under the leadership of Warren Williams Sr., we celebrated 365 days without a homicide on 3 different occasions. Today I stand before you. I serve as a community moral voice partner with the city of with the City Group Violence Reduction Strategy, GVRS. I've seen progress, fewer shootings and homicides, but that only happens when you include community. I deeply care about my community. That's why I step up to have the hard conversations and help those at risk most to find a better path. I believe in GVRS and their work. Mayor Scott, thank you for your leadership, for putting community at the heart of public safety. This is the support that South Baltimore has been waiting for. I will turn this over now to Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Termite. I've known Termite for many years. I think that's the first time she ever called me by my title, so I feel very special today. Very special. And anybody who's ever done anything in Cherry Hill knows Termite and her dedication to her community. And Councilman Blanchard, Councilwoman Porter told me to make sure that you checked in with Termite when you arrived and when you leave Cherry Hill. And they know, and she's know how hard she's worked for us to get to this moment. Folks like Termite don't always make the headlines, but they should, because ending violence in our city takes trusted leaders in communities doing the work each and every day. And she's just one of many examples of those people here in South Baltimore. I want to also recognize Commissioner Worley and the men and women of the BPD, especially the group violence unit who is represented here today, Council President Cohen and Councilman Blanchard who are here with us today, as well as Councilwoman Porter, who unfortunately could not be here today, but everyone knows she lives and breathes not just Cherry Hill, but all of South Baltimore. Director Mavronis and our team at Muncie, Deputy State's Attorney Angela Galliano, and our State's Attorney Ivan Bates, Katie Duran, Chief of the Criminal Division in the Best Attorney General in these United States of America's office, Anthony Brown, YAP, ROCA, our community, all of our community moral voice partners, representatives from our Senator Chris Van Hollen, Senator Angela Alsobrooks, and Congressman Johnny Olszewski's offices. I want to thank Senator Van Hollen and the Congressman and Congressman Nfume for their work to secure a roughly $1.2 million earmark for next fiscal year to support the expansion of GVRS. And of course, all of our partners at the DEA, the ATF, FBI, HIDA, DPSCS, and GOCCP, and our governor and the state government for their deep partnership and support. Before I get into today's announcement, I want to underscore the impact of the group violence reduction strategy and all of our strategies to reduce violence to date. From the beginning, we always said, and I always said, we would go about this the right way and not the popular way. We wouldn't blow with the wind. We wouldn't blow with yelling and screaming. We would stay with what has been proven and what we know works. And we're seeing the impact of that. As you all know, in 2020, there were 335 homicides in Baltimore. Last year, there were 201. And through the first 6 months of 2025, we've had the fewest homicides ever recorded on record through that period. Of course, for us, this is not a time to celebrate. It's a time of recognition, and recognition of not just how far we have come, but how much work that we all collectively have to do together still. But it is progress, and with the help of community leaders like Termite, we've been able to connect more than 256 people at the highest risk of being involved in violence to life-changing services through YAP and ROCA. And I want to be clear about this. 95.7% of those service participants have not been re-victimized, and 97.7% of them have not recidivated. That is a huge number. And on the other hand, those of us who, as we say in Baltimore, used to say culturally, tell us to kick rocks when we offer help and services and choose to continue engaging in activities and violence that we know are not beneficial to our communities, will and have faced swift and certain consequences. GVRS has contributed to over 414 arrests, removing individuals and groups driving gun violence and other activities from our streets. The strategy is working because we are focused on those people at the highest risk. And today, we take it to the next level. We are here in Cherry Hill to officially announce the expansion of GVRS into the BPD's Southern District as of late June. To be clear, this is a continuation and not the start of our work here. Earlier this year, we were in Curtis Bay. Our law enforcement partners took down a violent group in South Baltimore that was identified first through GVRS in the Western District. Expanding to this area allows us to begin investigations here that will help reduce violence not just in South Baltimore, but citywide. But as you all know, making our city safer isn't just about reducing crime. It's about increasing opportunity. And that's especially important here in South Baltimore. Because if we're going to be frank and honest, Brooklyn, Curtis Bay, Cherry Hill, all of South Baltimore had been ignored for many, many decades. I remember when I became council president and was over with Termite and members of Safe Streets over at Harbor Hospital, and they were talking about, and I heard the same thing in Curtis Bay, how infrequent throughout their life that they had visits and investments, and folks at that level that I was at, that the council president is at now and higher, very rarely came to South Baltimore, let alone making sure that investments were coming to this part of town. And as a son of Park Heights, I know exactly what that feels like. So as mayor, I've made a point to not just spend my time here, but also to focus on South Baltimore and make sure that we can uplift and invest in this area in many ways. So we're not just for a visit, but to deliver funding and resources. And we know we have a brand new Middle Branch Fitness and Wellness Center here. We're going through renovations at Lakeland Recreation Center. We are building a brand new Elijah Cummings Rec Center right now in Brooklyn and Curtis Bay. We've upgraded the Cherry Hill Splash Park, upgraded 9 athletic courts and fields, 6 new playgrounds, 5 parks improvements, and we brought the Charm City Circulator to Cherry Hill for people to ride on the circulator, not just for the buses to be stored in this neighborhood and the residents not to be able to get on it, but now they can take the circulator into the other parts of town where they need to go to work or go to school or go to the grocery store. Because these neighborhoods are just as worth as investing in as any others, whether it's Canton, whether it's Westfield in Northeast Baltimore where I live, or whether it's Harbor Place. You in South Baltimore are just as deserving of quality parks, rec centers, schools as anybody else. And just as deserving of safe, healthy communities to live, work, and raise a family as Termite has done. That's what all of our investments are about, including today's expansion. A better quality of life for our residents. And I want to thank everyone, every single one of our partners here and beyond who have worked to make this moment possible and who will continue to work to improve safety and life in Baltimore. And now I have the pleasure to turning the microphone over to our Deputy State's Attorney, Angela Galliano. Ma'am?
Mayor Scott. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I am Deputy State's Attorney Angela Galliano here on behalf of City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who is not able to be here today. Success in public safety requires deep collaboration, and under State's Attorney Bates, that means engaging with our office employees, making sure that our vision and execution are aligned, building trust with the community to secure cooperation and successful cases, and partnering with support agencies to give offenders a real path to rehabilitation. That also means working shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement, from BPD to our federal partners and our state partners, in order to pursue accountability for violent repeat offenders. In just the past 2 years, our prosecutors have charged and closed more than 5,000 felony cases. Between illegal gun offenders, convicted murderers, and federal case referrals, we have taken more than 2,500 violent offenders off of the streets of Baltimore City. Since 2023, we've prosecuted more than 2,000 firearm-related violent offenders, leading to an annual average of more than 1,000 trigger pullers removed from our streets. And these aren't just statistics. These are lives protected, neighborhoods stabilized, and futures preserved. Since being sworn in 2023, State's Attorney Bates has prioritized changing the culture around crime. The message to repeat violent offenders was clear: if you continue to break the law, then you better bring your toothbrush. Our prosecutors back that up with offers of 5 years without, a minimum of 5 years without the possibility of parole for illegal gun offenders, and when needed, federal prosecution for even stronger sentencing. And as a result, we've more than doubled convictions of violent offenders to 1,723 under the Bates administration compared to 781 previously. We've grown our team within the State's Attorney's Office by 70 staff members, including hiring more prosecutors and support staff, reducing caseloads, strengthening our victim and witness support, and improving our prosecutorial effectiveness. And as a result, we have fewer gun cases being dismissed, more cases are referred to federal court, and notably, the homicide rate has dropped tremendously. We don't just prosecute. We work with our partners, as Mayor Scott emphasized, to prevent, to rehabilitate, to build trust. And we make it clear in Baltimore, safety is everyone's business and accountability is everyone's responsibility. Our approach is about the people and it's about progress. We're no longer reacting to violence, we are proactively dismantling it. The results speak for themselves: fewer guns, fewer victims, and stronger communities. And we're just getting started. So now I'll turn it over to Police Commissioner Worley.
Good morning, thank you. Thank you to all our federal, state, and local partners that are standing here behind me. Special thanks to the members of the BPD who are here, our group violence unit, and our command staff. Today's announcement is about building on real momentum. Our progress is being driven by focused enforcement and strong community partnerships that are saving lives. It shows that when law enforcement, government, social services, and community work together, we can change the narrative and turn the tide. The expansion of GVRS into the Southern District marks a milestone on our path to safer neighborhoods. It's special to me because I grew up here. I grew up in Pigtown, and I lived in Brooklyn for about 14 years, so it's special to me. This is a continuation of our focused, coordinated, and intelligence-driven efforts that are driving significant reductions in homicide and non-fatal shootings, but in almost every other crime category as well. GVRS is an operational framework that is changing the way Baltimore is approaching public safety, which is by focusing on those individuals and groups at the very highest risk of being involved in violent crime. Earlier this year, right here in Cherry Hill, we worked with the DEA, the Maryland Attorney General's Office, and our federal law enforcement on a major investigation. We dismantled a violent drug trafficking network that fueled both shootings and overdoses in our community. This is about disrupting the systems that were inflicting violence and harm and trauma in the neighborhoods. We sent a clear message: violence will not be tolerated. But we know enforcement alone is not enough. It will never be just enough with enforcement. What makes GVRS work is partnerships. And the most important partnership, as Termite brought up, is the community. Without the community, no partnership will be successful. It brings together the full power of the criminal justice system with the city's outreach and service partners and our community moral voice partners, trusted messengers like Termite. Together we share a powerful message. If you're ready to put down the guns and stop your involvement with violent crime, we're here to help. But if you choose not to put down the guns, we'll respond quickly and firmly. As we expand into the Southern, we're bringing opportunity, credibility, and commitment to partnerships with these communities. To all the residents of Brooklyn, Cherry Hill, Westport, Curtis Bay, and South Baltimore, I'm gonna have to make sure we do some work on this because they always forget Pigtown, where I grew up. So I'm gonna always include Pigtown. We stand with you and we're ready here today. So thank you. With that said, I'll turn it over to Director Stephanie Mavronis of Muncie.
Thank you, Commissioner Worley. My name is Stephanie Mavronis of Muncie. I'm excited to be here to officially announce the expansion of the group violence reduction strategy into the Southern District. We know that GVRS is an all-hands-on-deck effort, a true partnership, as you can see reflected here. You've heard from the State's Attorney's Office, Commissioner Worley, about the crucial roles that their agencies play in GVRS. At Muncie, we serve as the coordinator for the strategy, consulting regularly with our technical advisors, tracking all data related to GVRS, delivering custom notifications with our law enforcement partners and community moral voices, and working closely with our service providers, ROCA and YAP. As the mayor said, this strategy is having a profound impact across Baltimore, but it does not work without everyone that you've heard here today and that you see here today. Our GVRS service and community partnership managers at Muncie, many of those who are standing behind this podium, and our community moral voices that help effectively communicate our message to those that need to hear it. Through strategic and measured coordination with law enforcement and a strong focus on intelligence gathering, we know we're focusing on the right people. GVRS engages with people who have been identified as being at the highest risk of violence and gives them 3 options. 1, stop what you're doing. 2, stop what you're doing and take us up on our offer of services. Or 3, continue what you're doing and face swift accountability thanks to the strong partnerships between BPD, prosecutors, and regional law enforcement agencies. GVRS works because of this unique approach, balancing the offer of services with the promise of accountability. We want everyone we approach to make the right choice and take us up on that offer. ROCA and YAP offer life coaching services that have the power to change the trajectory of our participants' lives. They connect GVRS participants with support tailored to their individual needs, which may include housing, employment, vital documents, cognitive behavioral therapy, and just about anything else that they need to be successful in making that change. We know GVRS is changing lives and building safer communities, and expanding to the Southern District is our next step in building capacity for true progress, adding to the historic gains we've made on homicides and non-fatal shootings. While the numbers are promising, we are also making an impact on things that aren't so easily measured. GVRS's success is directly felt on the community level, enhancing quality of life, and proving to neglected neighborhoods that city government will no longer turn a blind eye to their needs. As part of Baltimore's comprehensive violence prevention plan, GVRS, along with Baltimore's ever-evolving community violence intervention ecosystem, is changing the culture of this city, effectively shifting mindsets around violence and allowing us to intervene to prevent that next shooting, that next homicide from taking place. And we'll continue this work so more Baltimoreans like Jalen, a GVRS participant you'll hear from very soon, can benefit from this work. Thank you, and I'd now like to introduce Baltimore City Council President Zeke Cohen.
Thank you, Director Mavronis. Thank you to the mayor and to all of our partners who are here today. It is so good to be back in Cherry Hill. I started my career as a teacher teaching in West Baltimore, and then right down here in Curtis Bay. And like the mayor said, I remember feeling this profound sense of disinvestment in that community. I remember being with the young people. I taught middle school students and looking across the water at this thriving, bustling downtown that was the city of Baltimore and feeling deeply dislocated and disconnected. And I also remember a really strained relationship between the young people that I was teaching and law enforcement. And I think what is so different now from what I saw then was back then it was the tail end of the war on drugs, and for so many of our young people, the police did not represent safety in that moment. The police were not someone they could count on. And I think what we've seen with Commissioner Worley's leadership, Mayor Scott, our state's attorney, is that we see a completely different police force that is doing the work of community policing, that is working to be a guardian and a protector. And it is a completely different energy from what I saw as a teacher. And to me, that is what GVRS, the Group Violence Reduction Strategy, really represents. It's about giving people a choice to either turn their lives around and become part of this great renaissance, this great city that we are all collectively leading as partners, as Termite, as state's attorney, as the mayor, as all of us, or to choose to continue to participate in the activities that got them in trouble in the first place. And then, again, with the support of all of our law enforcement, we know where that ends. And the reality is that the numbers don't lie. We are seeing historic declines in homicide in the city of Baltimore, and we are doing it different from the way that we have done in the past and that most cities are doing right now. And as the mayor said, we have a long, long way to go. We will be the safest city in America. We will see that renaissance, and it will require all of us, every single partner working together. And before I turn it over to my colleague, Councilman Blanchard, I want to thank both Councilmember Porter, Councilman Blanchard, the entire City Council, but also just the investments that we've seen in South Baltimore. And I was thinking about this, Navasha, at the Cherry Hill Fest not too long ago, seeing the incredible work, the cultural vibrance that's happening in our communities with artists, with the energy we're seeing the new rec center, seeing all that's going on in Lakeland, the investment in housing, the investment in, like the mayor said, transportation with the Charm City Circulator. South Baltimore is rising, and it is because of the work of so many people on the ground. One of those people is my colleague, Councilman Zach Blanchard. He has hit the ground running. He has been a tremendous advocate for the neighbors of South Baltimore, so please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Councilman Zach Blanchard for the 11th District. About half of my constituents are residents of the BPD Southern District, so this is obviously very, very good news for my neighbors as well. But I just kind of wanted to point out that there's two things that make GVRS that are really important to note about GVRS. One is that it works, right? It actually makes our neighborhood safer, and that is the big reason that everyone's rightfully celebrating it. The second reason, I think also extremely important, is the philosophy that underpins it. It's an idea of treating people, all people, like humans who make decisions based off of their environments and all types of other things, right? Being smart, building relationships, understanding where people are coming from, and then looking at someone and saying, look, I know you're going through this, but if you do this, we're gonna do this. The carrot and stick approach is like how people actually think, no matter who those people are, no matter where they're coming from, no matter how disadvantaged their background is, no matter what their history might be. And it's that type of, I was actually a little surprised that I didn't hear it when the mayor was speaking earlier, but a really good, I think, driving point that the mayor's whole public safety strategy of making our neighborhoods safer the right way, this is what that's about, right? It's about recognizing that everyone is a human making human decisions, and we need to influence those decisions through our relationships, through understanding their situation and giving them carrot and stick approaches. So I'm not surprised this works. And I'm glad to see it in the district. So with that said, I'll pass it back over to Mayor Scott.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Now we're going to get to the most important part of our program. We have someone who is very special with us here today, someone who stands with us as an example of what is possible through GVRS and our service providers. Jalen, who is a YAP GVRS participant, who is here to share his story. I will turn it over to Jalen. Jalen?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Scott and the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement of the GVSR team. I'm here today because of my youth advocate programs, life coach, Mr. Sean Bay Harvell, the one that's standing next to me. Because of him and his GVSR team at YAT, my life has made a 360 turnaround. Mr. Sean Bay has helped me become a man a year ago. I had just turned 18. I was in the hospital recovering from a gunshot wound to the stomach. Without getting into detail, I was not living the right life at the time. Mr. Sean B helped me see myself in a different way. For example, I always knew I was smart, but he taught me how to put my intelligence to use for good. When I started with YAT, things were going smoothly. I was in job course and doing well. I was learning about plumbing, how to disassemble toilets, sink, put together and repairing garbage disposals. When I started with YAT, but I made a mistake and had a setback and was released from job corps. I was in a very dark place. That's when I really learned that the YAT GVRS program and Mr. Sean Bay were about. They stuck with me and showed me that I can still turn my life around. I just graduated from high school and if I had not gotten sick, I would have had perfect attendance there. I just earned my commercial driver's license and I got a job. Thank you, I appreciate it. And I have coping skills. I know how to deal with conflict and I have a better relationship with my family. I had just learned that job course taking me back. My goal is to pick up where I left off at. I want to continue plumbing. I want to continue on the plumbing track and eventually have my own business so that I can give back and help other young people and make my community stronger. Thank y'all. Pass me back to Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Jalen. I think it's important. We often at GVRS press conferences, you hear about those who didn't take the help. I think it's even equally, if not more important for us to hear the opposite about the life-changing work that does happen when someone dedicates themselves with the dedicated support they have to changing their life. So thank you, Jalen. And the city is hiring for CDL workers. We just make sure I have to put that out for you too. The commissioner said he was going to give you an application, but I'm trying to get you first before you. Thank you. And with that, we will take questions. I don't know how it.
We're going to start here.
Just go down, go around.
The line. Mike will.
I'll just say this before. If you're out here, you're going to have to just tell me who you are because we can barely see you right there.
So sorry.
There you go.
I have just two questions to start. So first, Mayor, if I may ask, I've heard that this program it was delayed in its implementation. Could you speak to the delay, the reason for the delay a little
So are you talking about GVRS total or GVRS in Southern?
in the Southern District?
Yeah, so we were going through some changes, had to make sure that we had the right people in place, but also, like we said before, we have to have the right partners on the ground to make it work. And I've been very clear every time we've talked about GVRS and expansion that we will not make the mistakes of the past. And we've seen this strategy fail in Baltimore because folks try to expand too quickly. We're going to do it the right way, right? My team knows I don't like to give out dates about expansion because we know as you do the problem analysis, as you're working to find out who your more reverse partners are, there are going to be things that happen. And we had some of that happen this time and we're here now. But I want to be also very clear about this. Just because GVRS wasn't in the Southern doesn't mean that we weren't having GVRS type work happening in the Southern. Obviously, we had an investigation here already, but our police districts across the city have already taken many of the tenements of GVRS into their daily work in their respective districts that are producing results. When you think about those individuals that the Deputy State's Attorney talked about with those gun cases, right? Our officers are doing it, and they're focused, providing better cases to the State's Attorney, to the Attorney General than they have in the past, to allow them to do the great work that they are doing at a much better than we saw in the past as well. That's why this partnership works.
Could you give an example of a mistake in the past that you guys have learned from and are sort of thinking about when in this expansion?
Well, not sticking to GVRS, right? We saw that this is the third time that this happened. So we know that folks just went away from the strategy. I think what technical advisors would say is that one of the most important things, if you look at this here in Baltimore, wherever all these other cities that have a focused deterrence model, the executive buy-in is very critical. And when we've had in the past folks who just gave in to the public pressure to either move too fast or move away from the strategy, it happened. We're not doing that. Mackenzie?
Sorry, if I could I could ask a question of Jalen and his life coach.
Sure.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you? Thank you so much for being
Doing good.
here and with speaking with us. I'm wondering, could you tell us a little bit more about what your experience has been and what it's like to build a relationship with YAP and with your life coach, and what that relationship has looked like in comparison to the past?
I would say it's more positive. I feel like I'm more like a family, you know what I'm saying? I would say more safe around them. It's cool. It's cool for yeah. I don't know how the program is just it's a cool program for. I think everybody should want to be in a program like this. They help you out with anything you need. Make sure you always good. My mentor for real, almost like my uncle for real. Like, yeah, that's really my uncle for real. Yeah, for real though. Like, the program is good though. I really like it a lot. I'm not really too much expressive, but my words, I genuinely mean what I say though. Yeah, it's a cool program. I like it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Thank you. Mayor Scott, I think you may have said this earlier, but I just wanted to double check if I had the number correctly. Can you just say how many people has GVRS actively and actually engaged with since its inception?
So engaged with total, that is not the number I gave earlier, Mackenzie. We can follow up. Stephanie and the team, we can follow up and give you that. We were talking about, I gave the numbers. I'll go back really quickly so I can give it to you directly. The numbers that I referenced earlier were, sorry about that. So the number I referenced earlier were the 256 people at the highest risk of violence that decided to take the services from us, and then the other number was the folks that had been arrested and sent over to our partners strictly through GVRS.
Okay. So you don't have the number?
I don't have the total. So there are many other people that they. So we can see that
Okay.
later. I don't have that one off the top of my head.
Does
unfortunately.
Monty have that number?
Yeah, we can follow up with you.
Do you
But
have that
I want to
number?
be very clear, Mackenzie, just why everyone's recording, right? That in the past, anybody that looked like me and Termite and Cherry Hill would have been considered the highest risk for violence or had violence perpetrated against us simply because we were black and lived in a neighborhood like Cherry Hill. What we have done through GVRS, what has been done and proven in cities around the country, is that we have done the actual work to identify that group of people, because I want to be very clear to the residents of Baltimore that it is a very small group of people that live in our city that are at the highest risk to be the perpetrator or the recipient of that violence. And that's why the numbers are the way they are, because we're focusing in on those very people.
And I have a question for the Deputy State's Attorney, Ms. Galliano, if I can. Some of the numbers, the statistics that you talked about, all of the repeat violent offenders, how many of those, or do you have the data, how many people that you talked about were involved in GVRS when you're talking about the people that were taken off the streets, the repeat violent offenders, the trigger pullers. If you're talking about neighborhoods stabilized, how big of a role did GVRS play in that?
Well, that was a very compound question, so I'll try to answer based on the information we have. So in terms of the numbers that I gave about the violent repeat offenders that have been incarcerated through conviction, that's an aggregate number. So that encompasses all of the individuals who are convicted, illegal gun possession, convicted murder, non-fatal shootings, etc. So those types of offenses. Anyone who refused the rehabilitation offer from the mayor would also be captured in that number. Right now, that number pulled out is 201 in terms of GVRS prosecution.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to follow up because I want the residents of Baltimore to understand what's happening here. We have to understand again, as I said earlier for Mackenzie, that, and for everyone, that even when GVRS is not in a police district, they're operating under those tenets when it comes to public safety. And just be reminded for everyone in Baltimore that every gun case in Baltimore City is made by the folks standing behind me and to my left, right? We direct them to go out and to pull these folks off. Anyone who has a gun. They use that through intelligence. Sometimes that's through GVU. Sometimes that's through the folks who are running patrol districts like the major, like the lieutenant colonel and the colonels that you see here today. That is how this works in Baltimore. What you're going to see from certain sections of the media, and we're calling on others to stand up and report in a better way, is that they are trying to discredit the work to say, well, this happened, but this is also happening. All of us are standing here together because we work together on not just GVRS, but every single gun case, every murder case in the city. And what we should be talking about right now solely is how this partnership has allowed us to do something, quite frankly, that Mackenzie used to ask me every day, Mr. Mayor, when are you going to reach your 15% goal? Not only have we done that, we've exceeded that and have violence at its lowest point in history in the city. That is what I want the residents to take away from this partnership that we all have between myself, the state's attorney, all of our federal law enforcement partners, the community, our BPD, everyone working together. Sir?
Mayor, exactly,
Hit the green light. You're good.
Sorry, Mayor, you talk about expansion. What's different from this program now going forward that didn't happen, say, 6 months ago?
So one, and you don't have the direct, right? The notification process that happened when Termite, others that are on the team, and others will be going out and delivering, quite frankly, to deliver letters from me to individuals to say, look, we know who you are, we know what you do. We want you to stay alive for you and your family, but you cannot do that if you're going to continue the things that you're doing. You have a choice. You can stop those things, or you can take us up on what we're offering you to help, all right? If you don't, we are going to remove you. That focus level is different. When you bring in the community moral voice partners in the community to the table, and you have that balanced approach, and then quite frankly, for some folks, we always say at all of these that once folks are under investigation, that offer is done for them. They have to take us up on that now.
Thank you.
Barrett?
Good morning, Mayor. My question deals with GVRS as well, and officially, how many districts is it in now?
5.
5, and can you name the 5?
So we are in the western, the southern, the south, the southwest, the eastern, the central. We have northern, northwest, southeast, northeast remaining to go to.
Dealing with, you talked about when you moved into other areas and you expanded too fast and you thought that...
Well, we didn't. They did that in the past, but yes, sir.
You talked about expanding too fast. And the question is dealing with what happens as you move now into these other areas and as you move into southern. Right. What types of, have there been issues in the other districts? What types of things where you had to fall back? You had to look at the crime and violence that may have that may have had an uptick or anything like that, and what was done there?
Well, we're always constantly evaluating that, right? We won't move into another district while other ones that we're already in are unstable, right? We have to do that, but we also have to follow the data, Barry, and that's what I think is the most important. This is a data-driven strategy. We don't move to places. For example, you may remember when we started in the Western, there was a lot of political pressure by elected officials for us to go straight to the Eastern District, because historically the Eastern and the Western District were the most violent. But the data said that there was no direct connection at that time between violence in the Western and the Eastern, that we should go to this next place first. We're going to continue to operate that way because we have been successful in doing it the right way. And sometimes the right way isn't fast, right? We still obviously are going to be focusing. You can look at the non-GVRS district, the police department, safe streets, all of our folks are still working in those areas, but we are going to bring the strategy to them fully in a responsible way.
And I have a question on a separate
Sure, go
topic.
ahead, that's fine.
This is dealing with Councilman Mark Conway and his questions and concerns dealing with what he's calling misallocation of Baltimore Children and Youth Fund resources.
And this is around the youth works jobs?
That, and also he's evidently doing some a tour dealing with Leaf Walk today, looking at how the money and funds are being misallocated. So
I'll say this very clearly, and I know the council president is probably looking at me right now like, what is he going to say? I want to be very clear that anybody in the city of Baltimore who has been here for more than 10 to 15 years is not going to have a single problem with the Baltimore City Children and Youth Fund funding 8,500 Baltimore City Youth Works jobs. It's literally in the name. We understand the councilman may have concerns. We can talk about those, but one thing I do not play with is my children. That is where the money should be spent, on making sure that our young people are getting what they need, and their jobs are important. Anybody that's trying to manipulate that for political reasons needs to look themselves in the mirror. But also, the Children and Youth Fund itself has a board and a process that these things go through. And I understand that there are some folks out there in the world who have a deep problem with a certain type of people who look like me having control of funds like that and not having be adherent to what they think. This is not that. When the other alternative, Barry, is for us to not have 8,500 youth works jobs this summer and go back down to 4,500. That's the alternative. And for someone who is yielding all the messages on Instagram and Facebook from parents and students alike for the several thousand young people who applied for those youth works jobs who couldn't get one, right? Because we only had the 8,500 slots. I think that they would say that maybe we should spend more of the Children and Youth Fund on youth works and not less.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Mayor, I guess it's...
You're good. I can hear you.
Oh, so are you concerned about the reliability of federal funding in the future to continue this and other programs dealing with violence reduction?
We have the best congressional delegation in the country. I know that they're going to continue to work and support, just like they're here with this earmark, but also we're talking about public safety in a way that has been proven to work. We are always going to be concerned about what could happen, but it's also why we set this up this way, that it's not solely reliant on just one source of funding. Federal, state, local, philanthropic, and that's the way that we have this set up so that we can continue through trying times like the ones that we're in now. But again, I am extremely confident in my federal delegation's ability to continue to work to help fund this program.
And Mayor, I had a health and safety question regarding something that happened at last week's Board of Estimates meeting regarding insurance.
Yep.
And Department of Public Works employees. Why not automatically opt them in to get insurance, especially because they've got such physically demanding jobs?
So I think this is a critical thing. One, we have negotiations with our labor unions, and they come to the table with things that they want to negotiate. This is one of the things that is a negotiable thing for them. But also, even beyond that, I want to be very clear that our employees, including the ones in Public Works, they're smart, and they make the decisions on what they believe is best for them and their families, right? And when you look at, even after some of the things that happened last year, we went back and offered, some folks still decide not to, because what if your wife works at a company and she can get the health insurance and you're already on that when you start? We have to have that balanced approach. But when we're talking about things that are at the negotiating table, we should probably leave them at the negotiating table.
Thank you, Mayor.
To piggyback off the federal funding question, can you give us a sense of the figures? I think you said $1.2 million from the congressional district, but are there any holes from federal funding, the DOJ cuts from earlier this year that
No.
need to be filled?
None for GVRS. Thank you, everybody.